How does a metal mass weighing 575 tons, staying in the air for 15 hours in a completely controllable manner and capable of crossing oceans, actually do this? Could it be that the force called gravity does not affect airplanes? We have prepared many videos about airplanes. We have previously examined how they carry tons of fuel in their wings, how they manage to keep their toilets spotlessly clean using almost no energy or water, or their incredible carrying capacities. Seriously, how do these airplanes actually manage to fly? To explain this topic, we chose the king of the skies, the Airbus A380, which is the largest, most audacious, and most gigantic passenger aircraft produced in aviation history, as our model. To understand this unbelievable weight that manages to fly, we need some numbers. Imagine the Airbus A380, which resembles a football field with its double-deck fuselage and massive wingspan. The maximum takeoff weight of this mechanical monster is exactly 575 tons. This is almost equal to the weight of a massive freight train completely filled with coal and iron. And this colossal mass does not just rise a few meters from the ground and stay there. It climbs to an altitude of exactly 35,000 feet, right above the clouds, into the turbulent layers where small planes are afraid to go. At a mind-boggling speed of about 900 kilometers per hour, it can travel between continents non-stop for 12, or sometimes even 15 hours. Humanity's relentless battle with the sky actually began with hot air balloons, passively floating upward, relying solely on the lifting force of the air. But this was not a real flight. It was just a drift left to the mercy of the wind, an uncontrolled ascent without a route. This situation was never enough for human beings, who try to benefit themselves by controlling everything. Some restless inventors would shut themselves in their homes and work through the night, and as dawn broke, they would make attempts that endangered their lives, trying to turn human beings into creatures that know no boundaries. By the 19th century, the concepts of staying aloft and moving forward began to separate from each other. The hot air balloon stayed aloft. However, a machine capable of moving forward was required. The actual big revolution took place in 1903, with that historic and iconic flight of the Wright brothers that shook the whole world. These two brothers proved to all humanity that a machine heavier than air and powered by an engine could stay aloft under human control. Their first flight lasted only 12 seconds, and the distance they covered was even shorter than the massive wingspan of the Airbus A380 we are talking about today. But this short moment changed the world forever. We can simply explain the principle of staying aloft for airplanes moving forward like this. Very powerful aircraft engines have enough power to push the airplane forward. They can even bring it up to high speeds like 900 kilometers per hour. After the engines start to move the airplane forward, the wings begin to do their job. For the airplane to remain stable in the air, two different opposing forces need to be balanced. When the force of gravity pulling the airplane toward the ground and the upward lift force produced by the wings are balanced, the airplane can now travel at the desired altitude for as long as desired, until its fuel runs out and its engines go silent. So how do the wings, which are trying to generate a force against gravity, do this? The acceleration of the airplane forward by means of its engines allows airflow to pass under and over the wings at a very high speed. Airplane wings have a special asymmetrical shape called an airfoil. Their upper surfaces are curved, and their lower surfaces are flatter. The air passing over the wing moves faster at the upper part due to this slope, creating low pressure on the upper surface and high pressure on the lower part. This pressure difference sucks the airplane upward. At the same time, due to the wing's angle of attack, the airflow is directed downward, and in reaction to this effect, the wing is pushed upward. While the wing sends air molecules down, the molecules also push the wing upward. If you like our videos where we explain the most exclusive technologies of the world's largest machines with simple 3D models, you can subscribe to our channel. We said that the airplane can stay aloft by equalizing two different forces, but a total of 4 different forces must be balanced. These forces are the forward thrust provided by the engines, the air resistance opposing it, the force of gravity, and the upward lift force produced by the wings. So, We can think of these forces as forward, backward, upward, downward. You can imagine this system like a delicate and dynamic scale suspended in the sky. Whenever the lift force produced by the airplane exactly equals its massive weight, at that very moment, the airplane maintains its altitude millimetrically. Likewise, when the forward thrust produced by the engines equals the resistance shown by the air, the airplane continues to travel at a constant speed. Whenever there is the slightest deviation in this balance, the laws of physics come into play, and the airplane either accelerates or changes direction. In the Airbus A380, which is the world's largest passenger aircraft, just as everything is the largest, it also has the largest wing. The air mass flowing around the massive 850 square meter wing geometry is bent and redirected very aggressively. While four massive Rolls-Royce Trent engines, each the size of a car, propel the A380 forward, the large wings also smartly slice through the air like a sword and can generate the necessary lift force to lift 575 tons into the air. So why don't these massive passenger aircraft just take off and fly right over cities instead of climbing to mind-boggling altitudes of 35,000 to 40,000 feet? At those freezing altitudes, the air is so thin that the invisible wall of resistance the airplane encounters while slicing through the air, that is, the drag force, is reduced by almost half. The denser the air, the more colossal the amount of energy and fuel the airplane must expend to push that air. As the airplane climbs higher, thanks to the thinning of the air, it moves as if gliding in a frictionless vacuum and dramatically reduces the fuel it expends per mile. Moreover, the only advantage of these high altitudes is not just fuel economy. The naturally freezing air at those heights maximizes the thermodynamic efficiency of jet engines. In addition, since those terrible storms, lightnings, and clouds in the world usually remain in the lower layers, the airplane travels in a smooth sky away from turbulence. As the journey progresses and the airplane burns tons of fuel and becomes lighter, pilots climb the airplane even higher to layers where the air is even thinner, which we call step climb in aviation. We have examined how these massive weights can stay in the sky. So what happens during that tension-filled moment of the first takeoff? Before the airplane even touches its wheels to the runway, flight computers calculate three vital speed values based on the airplane's current weight, air temperature, and wind direction. The first of these is the V1 speed, which is the point of no return in aviation, meaning the decision speed. Once this speed is passed, even if one of the engines catches fire or a very serious malfunction occurs in the airplane, the pilot absolutely has no chance to cancel the takeoff and brake, because that runway is not enough to stop the airplane, and the airplane would overshoot the runway and smash into pieces. Once V1 is passed, no matter what happens, that airplane must lift off into the sky. The second critical speed is VR, meaning the rotation speed at which the nose of the airplane is lifted into the air. The moment this speed is reached, the pilot gently pulls back on the yoke, lifting the nose to increase the angle of attack and literally bursting the lift force. Finally, the reached V2 speed is the minimum safety speed, at which the airplane can safely continue to climb with a single engine, even if one of the engines stops. During that wild run on the runway, most of the airplane's weight is still on those massive 20-wheeled main landing gears. However, as speed increases, the lift force on the wings begins to overcome gravity. A moment comes when the produced lift force millimetrically equals the airplane's 575-ton weight, and the pressure exerted by the wheels on the runway drops to exact zero. The airplane does not suddenly shoot upward from the runway. It just begins to be drawn toward the sky because it no longer needs the ground. After taking off, the airplane continues its climb toward that efficient cruise altitude, and when it rises above the clouds, it reaches that immense state of dynamic balance. When the airplane goes into level flight, the upward power is completely equal to the downward power, and the forward power is completely equal to the backward power, and the airplane glides as if on an invisible rail. Thus, for human beings, boundaries become nothing more than a line on paper. See you in the next video.